So, tonight we're doing Chinese. We're doing a traditional Chinese chow mein. Now, many of the dishes we get in a Chinese restaurant here in England, or even in America, aren't necessarily traditional Chinese menus, dinners. But chow mein it's a noodle dish, okay? And so we're going to cook that now. I've already pre-cooked some noodles, and not very much, so they're still quite al dente. Then we've drained them, and I've dried them on a tea towel, so they're nice and dry. Okay, I've got some bean sprouts. Unfortunately, I couldn't get any fresh, so I've got tinned ones. So we'll just add them at a later stage because they're already a bit soft. I want some pak choy, some spring onions, some dark soy sauce, some light soy sauce, some sesame oil, some frying oil, sugar, and then obviously some chicken. Okay, and that's what's going to go into our wok. And now the thing is with chow mein, because obviously we don't want to overcook anything, we want to get everything prepared, ready for assembly. So tonight's extravaganza, Chinese chicken chow. Well, actually I'm putting prawns in it as well because I've got some left over. So chicken and prawn chow mein. So like I said, we're going to use some pak choy, and we want everything sliced nice and thinly. The pak choy will be one of the first things that go into the oil because obviously that's one of the crispier, if you like, ingredients. Okay, so I've just trimmed a bit of the green off and trimmed the bottom off. And so I'm just going to slice this up. Now I've sliced up the spring onions. Spring onions are going quite late. You could, if you wanted, add a red pepper. We don't like red pepper, so we're not adding one. But if you want to add red pepper, you would also thinly slice that. Okay, and oops, try not to mix that up with the spring onion. Okay, and the red pepper would be another one that will go in early. So I'm just going to finish off preparing this veg. Okay, and then we're going to make up a marinade for the chicken, and then we'll slice up the chicken. Okay, so for our marinade, we're going to want some sugar. We want about 1/4 teaspoon of sugar. Okay, we want some light soy sauce at this stage. For that I want a tablespoon. So I've been making other things, I'm running out of measuring things. Okay, and then you want some sesame oil, and for that I want about 2 teaspoons of that. So that'll be 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that will give a little bit of a nutty flavour to it. Okay, and so I've got me pak choy chopped. If you were doing red pepper, you'd do that as well. I've got bean sprouts. I've got thinly sliced spring onions. I've got some prawns because I'm going to add some prawns to mine. I've got noodles ready. So we've still got a sauce to make. Okay, but at this point, what we're going to do now is we're going to take our chicken. Okay, and I'm going to do that on a different board. It's easier to keep that clean. And what we want to do with our chicken is, once there's a bit of bone in there, once we've trimmed off any of the crappy bits, as it were, we're just going to make some thin slices of that, and we're going to toss that into that marinade. Actually, there's a few bits of bone in this one. Tesco, what are you up to? So, just going to cut some thin strips. In it goes into there. And then, apart from making up, I'm sure I've found another bit of bone there. Apart from making up the sauce, we then got everything ready to go so that we can then start assembling the chow mein in the correct order. So, chicken's in there in the marinade, giving it a good mix through. So our final thing we need to prepare is our sauce. Okay, and for that I want oyster sauce. I want some dark soy sauce. some sugar, some light soy sauce, and a little touch of sesame oil. So let's use an actual teaspoon this time. So sugar wise, I want a teaspoon of sugar. Okay, which I might as well use that same spoon. Teaspoon of sugar. I want some light soy sauce. How much of that do I want? I want about half a teaspoon of that. Come here. There you go. And then I want some dark soy sauce. I want the same of that. I want some sesame oil. I want how much of that is it? Teaspoon of sesame oil. Okay. And then the final thing, and this is obviously a little bit tricky because it's quite thick. I want some oyster sauce, and I want about half of that. Wait, no, I've gone a bit overboard on that, but never mind. Right, so I'm just going to mix that together. So we are now ready to start assembling our chow mein. So we need to put our wok on, and we want to now add some oil, about a tablespoon of oil. Okay, and we now just want to get that up nice and hot. Right, so oil's getting hot. So now I'm going to put into there my chicken. Stand back a bit, keep spitting. Okay, give that a quick toss around. There is a bit too much chicken in here, to be honest, but we probably only want about half of that really to go the chow mein, so it'll be a bit chicken heavy. But at this point we're also going to add in our pak choy, and if you're using red pepper you would also chuck that in at that point. Okay, so now we're just going to toss this around for a little bit, for a couple of minutes. Okay, like I say, we don't want to overcook everything, we want a bit of crunch to the ingredients. So if we add them in the right order, it means that the heavier ingredients, if you like, will be cooked by the end, not overcooked. So I'm just going to toss that around a bit. Okay, so the chicken and pak choy cooked for a few minutes. I'm now going to chuck in them prawns, because I said to you I was adding some prawns. Okay, mix them in, let them cook for about another minute, and then we'll move on to the next ingredient. Now, ordinarily about now, if you had fresh bean sprouts, you'd have your bean sprouts now. Because these are tinned and they're quite soft, I'm not going to put them in just yet, otherwise they'll go mushy. Alright, so our chicken obviously still needs cooking through a bit more. Our prawns obviously need cooking. So at this point we're going to chuck in our pre-cooked or partly cooked noodles that have been dried. Okay, chow mein is a noodle dish. Okay, now Hong Kong and actually America, they do tend to use crispy noodles. They do tend to fry their noodles, whereas most of China will do it like this in a wok. Okay, I believe if you steam your chow mein or steam your noodles, that's called a lo mein. I always thought when I saw lo mein it meant it was low fat, but no, it's low LO, but apparently hello. But apparently no, it's because the noodles are steamed. So it is a traditional noodle dish, and apparently traditionally you want your noodles as long as possible, because long noodles mean long life in China. So making a right old bloody mess today, right, splashing that everywhere. So at this point I'm going to add in them bean sprouts, which, like I say, are a little bit on the soft side. Okay, and we just get them all mixed through. So all we're really after now is our sauce, which is ready to go, and our spring onions, which will be the final little touch. Okay, so I'm just going to get this, just get these bean sprouts all mixed in, noodles all mixed in, and then we'll move on to the next bit. So, at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to take that sauce and we're just going to mix that in. Make sure that's all thoroughly tossed through. Okay, it should give a little bit of colour to it, a little bit of extra flavour. Get that all tossed through, and we're now just going to continue cooking that for a couple of minutes. But at this point, we're then going to add in them spring onions to get them all nicely mixed through. And a couple of minutes time, we'll serve it up. Okay, so we're almost there with our traditional chow mein. So here we go. Here's our final served up chow mein. He says trying to use chopsticks again. Chicken nice and moist, not overcooked. So you want to get some of the veg. Still a bit of a crunch to the veg. I think that was probably a bit of spring onion. But there we go. Ooh. Chinese chow mein, chicken with a few added prawns. I'm now going to go and enjoy this. Bye.